The Renault Sport Trophy makes the trip to Austria for this weekend, and the Red Bull Ring, this 4.3 kilometre circuit up and down Dale, and we've already enjoyed two races from the Renault Sport Trophy. The endurance event yesterday, which involves both drivers allocated to each of these cars, with driver change part way through. A sprint race earlier on this morning for the AM drivers, and this is now the turn for the pros to take part in a 25-minute race plus a lap. Taking pole position, Peter Schotthorst, who is racing this weekend with another family member in the Schotthorsts, and Jeroen had action in the car earlier on today in the AM part of the race. Equipe Vasseur is his team. Marcus Paltela, who performed well in the opening stages of the Enduro yesterday but couldn't crucially get by Peter Schotthorst, will have another go at it today, and he's positioned already in the car. His teammate Fabian Schiller just fell short of winning the AM race because it was the other driver in the Team Mark VDS crew, Fran Gruder, who took the AM win. Well, will it be Mark VDS topping the timing sheets for this afternoon's race? We'll have to wait and see. There is the circuit that we are racing on this weekend. You can shorten the A1 ring, but it's the full Grand Prix circuit, up the hill from turn 1 to 2, long straight down to turn 3 at Rauch, and then a fast and flowing end to the lap. My name's Johnny Palmer. It's Graham Goodwin to my right, the editor of dailysportscar.com, and across the field really in the Renault Sport Series we've been treated to some very special racing. I'm sure this final race of the weekend for the Renault Sport Series will not disappoint.
As always in these one-make series, the last race of the weekend tends to be one that gets a bit more fast and rather more furious, and let's hope we see these fabulous Renault RS.01s come out of this race looking as fabulous as they do at the start of it. They do look like GT cars. They may not perform like GT cars. They're actually much quicker, as you see the cars on the track here, than a standard GT3 car. 550 brake horsepower from the Nissan V6, mid-mounted in this car, and in a car that weighs around 1,200 kilos, full carbon chassis, Dallara built chassis, carbon brakes, big aero. It may be a big car, it may be a relatively heavy car, but with the punch that these things have got, with the aerodynamics these things have got, then this is a potent package, and does dole out, Johnny, some very good racing indeed.
And the crews have had something like 2 hours, maybe a little bit less than that, to turn these cars around. It was at times a bit of a brutal affair in the AM class category. There were cars off into the gravel, there was side-to-side contact, and the moment as well for Max Brahms and Fred Blomstedt when Brahms came from quite a way back to nerf Blomstedt into a spin. He was in this very car, in fact, and it'll be Kevin Courjus to take this drive now for the sprint race. And he is the pro driver, former Renault 3.5 champion of yesteryear, and Courjus has been associated with Renault for a number of seasons now. Will be interesting to see how he progresses from 7th position. In front of him, David Fumanelli, and the number 5 car starts from 6th position. And Nicky Pastorelli for V8 Racing is also very quick in one of these Renault Sport RS.01s.
Happily, the full grid has assembled here, and after, as Johnny said, a little bit of a bruising encounter for one or two of the teams, but it's kept the V8 Racing team and Equipe Vasseur in particular busy in that intervening period, but the whole entry has made the grid. That's the good news. 15 cars will start this race, 25 minutes plus that additional lap once the clock has counted down. Good looking liveries as well in this Sport Trophy. I'm particularly keen on this one. Spider's web livery on the traditional Renault Sport colours of yellow, Alpine yellow really, and black.
Carmen Jorda was driving that car in the earlier race. It's Jordan Groger's turn now in the V8 Racing colours, or the Renault colours run by V8 Racing. Track temperature still a little bit wanting, 23 degrees, air is 19, and it's a humid day. Always the chance of a shower, but it hasn't emerged quite yet. The weather seems relatively settled, although there's not a great deal of heat to the day despite the cloud cover. 1 minute till the green flag lap, and the grid is well and truly being cleared now, ahead of Peter Schotthorst and Marcus Paltela leaving the grid as they sit on the front row there. Schotthorst to the left of that previous shot. Bruno Bonifacio will start from 3rd position. Roy Geerts, the Dutchman for Equipe Vasseur, makes it 2 of their cars in the top 4.
Public have responded well to the free entry offered by Renault Sport for this package, including, of course, the 4-hour race for the European Le Mans Series to come later this afternoon. 15-second board show, Johnny.
Two Oregon cars on the right-hand side, the driver's right, as these cars line up. One can help the other, I suppose, in blocking the two cars on the outside into the first corner. It'll be a rolling start, as it has been all weekend. And remember that these guys took the start yesterday in the Enduro, so we'll be used to where to position the car into what is a tight first corner, late braking but on coolish tyres. And a number of times through the weekend we've seen cars running wide over quite large yellow sausage curbs on the outside of turn 1, unsettling the car. There it is, in fact, just in front of a very large Austrian flag, which emblazes the runoff area, not only at turn 1 but also after the final corner as well. So Schothorst, Paltele, Bonifacio in the first of the Oregon cars there, the pink, yellow and green machines, followed by Roy Geerts, who is the teammate of Peter Schothorst, but Geerts not in typical V8 racing colours. It's the green and white there. Then the next car is Nicky Pastorelli with David Fumanelli alongside on the third row. Cars working their way now across the top section of the circuit out of Rima's corner, which is turn 2. So in a single seater in a Eurocup Formula Renault 2 litre, it's better to stay off the curbs and well off the apex at turn 2. Looks like these cars, being that bit heavier, can lay their traction down, lay the rubber down a bit more easily. And we are seeing cars hit the apex at turn 2. Schothorst then starts from pole, but it was a tight run thing, as you can see, just 0.02 of a second back to Marcus Paltele. Bruno Bonifacio and Nicky Pastorelli starting from 4th position. David Fumanelli in 5th place. Tanner Satatirikul is starting from 7th position. Roy Geerts in 8th. Raoul Owens 9th. And then Jordan Groger, who we caught a glimpse of on the grid, starts from 10th. In the last few places, Lonnie Martins for Duquesne Engineering, Diego Maya, who is a Colombian journalist, also for Duquesne. And watch Duncan Houseman go from the back of the order. Had a problem in the start of yesterday's Enduro race with the door that flipped up on the opening lap, and he violently swerved the car to the left to make sure that that door could be shut without the need for a pit stop. Just about managed it. Duncan Houseman has been racing for a number of years now, another Dutchman. Brother Patrick as well with a lot of success in other forms of motorsport. And Duncan Houseman starts then from 15th position. Cars now starting to show signs of forming the dummy grid. They'll need to be in close formation for this rolling start ahead of a sprint race, the second sprint race of the weekend and the third of the Renault Sport Trophy here at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. More weaving taking place there by the second of the Oregon cars and further back as well. They'll get into proper formation as they work their way through. Turn 8 then, Peter Schothorst will be keen to defend from a no doubt rapidly starting Marcus Paltele. They're all eyes then on the red lights, and it's quite a quick getaway there as the lights turn to green at exactly 12:30, and it's almost 5 abreast. In fact, it is 5 abreast further back in the pack. The Mark VDS car trying to slot his way up the inside of about 4 cars, and Paltele way out wide. So Schothorst, has he defended the lead? Paltele will get a good speed out of turn 1. It's going to be nip and tuck up to turn 2, Graham.
Schothorst got a bit of a biff at the back, and there's big contact behind the rear of the field. 2 or 3 cars involved. The 16 car, one of them, and 1 car off after heavy contact. Barrier on driver's left. There's damage as well as bodywork peels off one of the V8 racing cars. Another car pulling off the circuit to the rear here.
Almost as if this is a one-lap dash for the spoils, because all hell breaking loose towards the back of that pack as we were concentrating on the leaders. But Marcus Paltele did get a good run out of turn number 1. Peter Schothorst also looking good, but there is damage. Yes, you're right, on the green car.
Yeah, on the number 7 car. Peter Schothorst took contact from one of the Oregon cars at turn 1. That unsettled the pole setting car, and trouble there as well for number 11.
Anders Fjordback with big damage. We're looking also at Raoul Owens, who's already out of his car, maybe feeling his back or perhaps just waiting for a lift home.
So at least 3 cars in big trouble, plus the number 7 car, which will have to pit with no engine cover on the car.
We will, of course, get a replay of exactly what happened in a moment or two, but as we were concentrating on the scrap at the head of the order, well, it was a very untidy start. Loads of cars going over the curb, and that really was 5 abreast there, and just not enough track position, and the 16 car turned right and into 3 of the other cars. Big impact for one of the Oregon machines. Meanwhile, in the foreground, Paltela hung on for the race lead, and that could be crucial as the safety car is deployed for this incident.
That's Duncan Huysman's car, then a brake car that was in big trouble. That was just a squeeze 3 wide, there was no space there, and I strongly suspect the car on the inside, not aware of the car on the extreme outside. Rubbing became something rather more serious there, so the 16 car.
So Diego Meyer able to walk away from the stricken number 16 car. That machine was driven by Ben Anderson in the opening portion of the race. Ben on the road got a good result, but was then issued with a 10-second penalty because of a track limits infringement. So up the hill goes Marcus Paltela, who leads the race behind the safety car. Peter Schotthorst is in second position. A damaged Nicky Pastorelli car in third. And yeah, rear deck with an issue, as you say, Graham, for the green car that was driven by Jelle Beelen in the opening encounter today. Nicky Pastorelli at the wheel for this one, and we'll see. Well, I think when we get back to speed, Pastorelli will be able to find out whether that car still has the pace. And then it's Bonifacio in fourth position, but the cars that will not take the restart, the number 16 of Diego Meyer, the number 2 of Raul Owens, the number 1 car of Dario Capitanio, and there is another view of it, and the number 1 car into the wall, big style, and then the number 8 machine of Duncan Huysman also eliminated.
So 15 becomes 11, and with damage as well to the number 7 car.
So that is the machine of Dario Capitanio, most heavily damaged really. It had a number of points of impact, including latterly into the Armco barrier. Strong cars, but they can't take that sort of abuse, sadly. And
the key thing is the driver's compartment is completely unscathed.
Yes, yes.
That's what they're built to do, is soak up the energy should there be a problem, and exactly that has happened. Unsurprisingly, that incident under investigation.
Yeah, it's just labelled as an incident between turns 1 and 2, but it will involve, well, certainly those 4 cars, possibly a 5th and 6th machine as well, and
at least 3 separate incidents that I spotted there. We see this again. There'd already been at least 1 incident there. There's already bodywork over the curbs at turn 1, and the 3 cars coming together there, and the black car getting unsettled, spearing across and launching the car on the outside into the cars on the inside.
Duncan Huysman very nearly got away with that. Watch the black car to the left now. He thinks he's got away with it, and then bang, there goes Capitanio's car being spun back across the track and collecting Duncan Huysman, who well and truly was involved in that incident, but you could argue that he was almost one of the instigators in it in the first instance.
8 on 16, wasn't it? And then that collected the 11 and the 1. 16 car seemed to me there, Johnny, certainly at the point of impact with the innocent party.
Yeah, plenty to watch again if we get a chance to see that replay maybe later on in the race, because there was all sorts happening, and as you say, there was secondary and almost tertiary parts to that incident.
So the 4th car, as there's repairs underway to Jordan Grogor's number 6 car, so that's taken a hit at some point. Additionally, damage to the number 7, the rear deck is missing from Nicky Pastorelli's 3rd placed Renault. And there was also contact with the lead of the Oregon cars to the rear of the pole-sitting car of Peter Schotthorst, the number 21 car, which was why he lost the lead into turn 1. Unsettled the Verschure car, now running second behind Marcus Paltela.
The number 6 machine looking a little bit more dishevelled now, with a lot of tank tape to keep those body parts in position, so spoiling the nice paint job for Jordan Groger. But the most important thing is the car should be back in the race now. Needs to catch up with the safety car train. Lights still illuminated, and there is Jordan's teammate Carmen Jorda, who took the race or took the car to a decent result in the earlier AM race, working her way towards the pit wall.
So 5 cars that has cost us. with Anders Fjordbak also pulling off the circuit later in the lap. And with a delay as well to a 6th, Jordan Grogor's car. There is Fjordbak's car.
Yeah, Fjordbak was driving the lighter blue machine. It was Dennis Anderson in the opening race, and the number 2 car looking very sorry for itself as well, that of Raoul Owens.
We said it might get a bit more furious. Well, perhaps not that early.
Yeah, the pro drivers certainly not wanting to hang around and trying to take advantage of every bit of tarmac available to them, but it's difficult to track exactly where everybody is coming out of turn number 1. Not like an endurance race, of course, where you can bide your time a little bit and realise where you are in the race, where it's clever to push and where it's actually cleverer to ease off in places and wait for a better opportunity. It was gung-ho stuff from the off there, particularly for cars that didn't qualify so well and maybe should have been a bit further up, like Capitanio and like Duncan Houseman.
No sign yet of, as we watch again, this is one of the other incidents. That's where the number 7 lost its rear deck, and that was another hit from the back, by the look of it, from one of the Oregon cars. It was certainly in close contention with one of those 2 pink-fronted Renaults behind.
Nicky Pastorelli at the wheel of the green car, and well, it was either Bonifacio or Fumanelli that was trying to take advantage of a slowed number 7 machine. Slowed probably because the rear bodywork was being ripped off. That would have really slowed in terms of the aerodynamics the car out of that corner. And yes, the Oregon machines, well, I said, well, they work with each other to sort of gang up on competitors. They were trying to surround Nicky Pastorelli for a little while out of turn number 3. Here's the start again. So Duncan Houseman and then Meyer rejoining. Houseman's caught in a sandwich there. Meyer spun across the nose of Houseman, who then gets clattered by Capitanio in the number 1 car. And to be fair to Duncan Houseman, he struggled to find any tarmac in front of him. He was just behind Diego Meyer. And Meyer, I don't think, realised the black car was fully alongside, turned slightly to the right. That then steered his yellow car into the Oregon machine.
What we didn't see is where the damage occurred for John Grogor, because he avoided contact in all of that, but clearly there was damage somewhere. So whether or not that was Jordan hitting some of that debris, but during that encounter that saw those 4 cars eliminated, it didn't involve contact from the car that was running last there with Jordan Grogor, but he did pit with clearly, visually, pretty large amount of damage at the start of the race.
Still no sign of the safety car lights being illuminated. The clear-up process continues, by the way, on that straight between turns 1 and 2. Jordan Grogor, though, is back in the race. Remains a bit of a mystery as to why that car is so heavily damaged on the front left quarter. Up the hill goes Marcus Paltela for Team Mark VDS EG00. Peter Schotthorst in 2nd position for the Equipe Verscheur organisation, and then in 3rd position it is Nicky Pastorelli in the number 7 from Bruno Bonifacio and David Fumanelli. Roy Geerts in the 19 car, not mention a great deal about him, but the Equipe Verscheur car is running in 6th place ahead of Kevin Corjus. We expect him to work his way up the order once we get back to green flag running, but obviously this is eating into what was a relatively short race anyway. We're down to within 15 minutes now of not quite the end of the race, because we have an extra lap to tag on to that, of course.
Safety car will be in this lap, Johnny.
So lights still flashing on the car at the moment, but as they head out of the unnamed right-hand kink that immediately follows Worth corner, then that will make its way towards the pit lane, and it will be Marcus Paltela's job to dictate the pace. He may decide to track the field back up a little bit, or he might just go for it as soon as he can to break a gap to Peter Schotthorst. But crucially, he leads the race and got the jump on the Dutchman before we went into this safety car phase.
And needs the points in the Pro Cup, does Marcus Paltela. He's not had the best of fortune so far in the Pro Cup. Needs points, needs this win.
So Paltela, careful not to overtake the safety car until it's well and truly off the circuit. Heads down towards the final corner, and he's already on it then. Peter Schotthorst in second position going with him. A little bit of a gap emerging between Schotthorst and Nicky Pastorelli, and then the two Oregon cars, Bonifacio and Fumanelli, may start to work with each other, one slipstreaming the other to try and close in on the backless number 7 Nicky Pastorelli. Looks more like a pickup truck as it heads up the hill.
Fastest pickup truck in the world. Now here's a question: does it have a weight advantage or an aero disadvantage at this point? We're soon going to see, as the second of the for sure cars gets stuck into the Oregon pair, tries around the outside.
And also a change for third position as Pastorelli's caught on the outside line, and Bruno Bonifacio wasn't going to be asked twice there. He's already been off on the grass, of course, earlier on in the race, and still not that position quite made by Roy Geerts in the Vodafone car. They're side by side are Fumanelli and Geerts, and later on the brakes goes Fumanelli to fend off the Dutchman.
Cracking stuff there in that battle for what is that 6th position. But Pastorelli battling away with that rear deck missing from the number 7 car. More woes for the V8 Racing team, recovering from a disastrous workshop fire caused by an adjoining business. Utterly gutted their headquarters, operating out of temporary premises at the moment.
The Italian versus Netherlands battle, though, is raging on here. The two Oregon Italian pilots, Bonifacio and Fumanelli, now separated by Nicky Pastorelli in a slightly walking wounded number 7 car. Over the line, there's been a lead change. Now, where on earth did that happen? Peter Schotthorst is out front again, ahead of Marcus Paltela. So, an unusual mistake, you would assume, from the Finn. Where did that happen to allow Peter Schotthorst through and now lead the race by nearly 4/10 of a second?
Happened in the last sector. And delayed, clearly Paltela delayed somewhere there. We didn't see it.
Up
Schotthorst takes the place.
Turn 2 we go, and the second of the Oregon cars leaving his braking late. That was Fumanelli trying to move on Nicky Pastorelli. Well, Pastorelli's also already been overtaken by one of the Oregon cars, fending off the other one for the time being, and Roy Geerts looking to get himself involved again. Lonnie Martin's not very far away in the second of the black cars, or the dark bluish cars. Into Rauch corner they go, and this is a 4-way fight then for 4th position. Back to Lonnie Martins in 7th spot. Then there's a bigger gap to Tanat Satintirikul, the Thai driver, as out of the first left-hander they go at Pirelli into Verth corner now, and over the curb at the right-hand kink. Just less than 11 minutes to go on the clock. A further lap to do once we reach 0 on that, and now on the attack is Jordan Groger with the damaged number 6 car. Kevin Kourjus not really causing him a problem behind. Looks to have the measure on the Estonian, and just ahead is the car that won the AM-Class sprint race earlier on today. Tanat Satintirikul struggling a touch there with the pace for the Team Mark VDS machine, but it's his teammate, former race leader, that has slipped to 2nd position.
Meantime, Marcus Paltela is beginning to come under pressure from Bonifacio behind, and it's the teammate car, the team car, the second Oregon car, that is trying to beat up Pastorelli. Pastorelli seems to be, I was just about to say, struggling for grip, and that proved it.
It was a good call then, because and here comes Roy Geerts, and there's more damage, and that's on a really fast part of the circuit, out of turn 2 down to 3, but Geerts keeps his foot in because it will give him track position. He's almost trying to edge Fumanelli off the track, or Bonifacio rather, off the track there. I was right first time. Fumanelli just between Geerts and Lonnie Martins. And the Vodafone car will have the inside line for Pirelli this time around. Not quite hitting the apex, but he has been able to make the place there despite high-speed contact between Remus and Rauch corners.
Did extremely well to gather that back up. That could have been a big, big incident. But that's a train now of 6 cars in close contention.
And what it served to do is drive a bit of a wedge between Bonifacio and Roy Geerts now. They're all tripping. Oh, and Geerts goes straight on. Roy Geerts with a problem with the car, maybe as a result of the contact with Fumanelli, and therefore he can't turn right at the penultimate corner. It's all change again, with Oregon cars running 3rd and 4th.
And was that a puncture?
It's on the right side of the car after the contact, on the left, front left of the car. Peter Schotthorst with the new fastest lap, a 1:26.754, and that's extending the gap back to Marcus Paltela. Here was the spin from Nicky Pastorelli then. you say, those Michelin tyres far past their best because of the bruising opening first few laps for Nicky Pastorelli and a number of other cars. And then Roy Hertz's opportunity came now, although trying to close him was David Fuminelli. There was contact.
Little naughty from Fuminelli there. Fuminelli checked up to avoid the spinning green car, and Hertz had already started to make he wasn't alongside. I think he has got a puncture there.
Yeah, I think you're right. The front left tyre going down very quickly indeed. Tried to turn in at the usual point into Rindt corner, and obviously the deflated tyre offering no grip whatsoever, as a place change back again there with Jordan Groger. Presumably he got ahead then of the car in front.
It's Kevin Corhus.
Yes, and Corhus getting back in front. So he is making progress finally. If I build that.
Hertz, I don't think, has rejoined. We've got yellow flags down at turn 8, which I think was where we lost. It's Pastorelli pits.
Yeah, Nicky Pastorelli coming down pit road with a very slow car as well. No doubt 4 flat-spotted cars. Meanwhile, the race leader works his way out of turn 1. Peter Schothorst with Marcus Palteler struggling to hang on to the coattails of the Dutchman up ahead of him. And Palteler, maybe a damage limitation job here to make sure he finishes second, as he did in yesterday's points haul from the Enduro race. Remember, the pros on alternate weekends do earn points towards their solo championship, because it was the pros starting the Enduro yesterday, handing over to the AMS, and at the 30-minute mark, just before the pit lane window opens, points are awarded.
Disaster this for Nicky Pastorelli in the Pro Cup standings, and we can't see the other side of the car, but one of the team members is pointing to the right-hand side of the car, shaking his head, hands up. Looks like game over, I'm afraid.
Jordan Groger getting close to Kevin Corhus under the brakes there into Rauch corner, but he wasn't close enough to get an overlap and try an overtake into Pirelli corner. And Jordan Groger
trailing debris at the rear of the six car as well.
From the rear right, and that wasn't a damaged area when it came in for a pit stop a little while ago, where they taped up the front left, but nevertheless it might be from the same incident that car is looking somewhat dog-eared now. Out of the final corner goes the battle for second position to complete another lap. That's 10 in the book now. 6 minutes and 8 seconds to go, plus a lap. And
Peter Schothorst getting away here from Marcus Palteler. Fastest lap of the race last time around on his lap 10, 1:26.504. A third of a second up on the Finn. And 1.6 seconds now the gap, with Bonifacio in touch, but about a second back now from the Mark VDS car.
Peter Schothorst's machine looking far more stable on the braking than Marcus Palteler. Coming from a long way back there was maybe Jordan Groger, but thinks better of it, trying to get back in front of Kevin Corhus. But that's an intriguing battle for 8th position, no 7th in fact, and Groger is 8th. Groger again right in the slipstream of the Estonian, but Kevin Corhus sensibly takes the inside line into Rauch corner, gives Groger, the South African, no opportunity there.
Corhus looks nowhere close to the kind of pace we've been used to seeing from him this season.
Yeah, not sure whether that's a car issue or whether it's a dislike of this track, but yeah, formerly very, very quick in single-seaters. And
well, he's got a 5th, a win and a 3rd so far this season in Pro Cup.
Yeah, no, that car is off the pace for whatever reason, and I'm sure it's not driver related. Over the crest they come into Rindt corner. Only a handful of laps still left in this, and Peter Schothorst still feels the need to push. In fact, the top 3 certainly do, top 4 certainly do. They've all set the personal best times on that lap, and Peter Schothorst the best of them all. So a new fastest lap of 1:26.498 on that 11th tour. Up the hill goes Schothorst, pursued by Marcus Palteler, but the gap's nearly up to 2 seconds now. Bruno Bonifacio with some work to do to catch up with Palteler. That's 1.2 seconds for a gap between 2nd and 3rd. David Fuminelli is 4th, 5th place Lonnie Martins, and then 6th position the second of the Team Mark VDS cars, with Satyen Terikul at the wheel. There is Satyen Terikul in fact in the silver and red Mark VDS car. You can tell the Mark VDS cars apart by the fact that it's blue detailing for Schothorst and red for Tanut. Out of turn 4 these cars go, And into a quick section at Pirelli and Wirth corner. There's a closer look at the rear trim, trailing from the rear of the number 6 car.
Nothing too serious there. There's a bit of an unsettled moment there for the leader, but no harm, no foul. It's going to be another quick lap for Pieter Schothurst. 1:26.498 last time around.
The carbon brakes of Bonifacio glowing red hot. So that's showing you how much all of these cars will be pushing, particularly for the heavy stops at turns 1, 2 and 3. And the gap looks like it's coming down. Yes, it is, between Paltala and Bruno Bonifacio.
But not enough at this stage of the race. 3 minutes plus a lap remain. There's another fastest lap of the race, by the way, last time around just by 100th quicker for Schothurst. 1:26.489 is the mark to beat now. He looks on pace to have done enough here.
Up the hill into turn 2 goes Kevin Courjus, still battling away with Jordan Groger, and he can't shake Jordan. The South African had a good go at an overtake last time around into turn 3. Here's another opportunity then, utilising the slipstream from the number 3 car. He's going to have to go round the outside, or it might be the switchback touch here, if he can get a good exit out of Rauch corner. No, Kevin Courjus' exit is pretty good actually, and he stays out front there after the damaged number 6 car. Over the curbs they go between Pirelli and Wirth corners. In the distance, Satin Tirakul trying to pressurise Lonnie Martins for 5th position. Good lap actually, or first part of the lap for Satin Tirakul there, with an absolute best through sector 1.
Across the line to finish the 13th lap. There would be 3 more before the end of this race. 2.1 seconds the gap now for Pieter Schothurst from Marcus Paltala, who's just pulled out a little bit more, a couple of tenths from Bruno Bonifacio in 3rd position.
Yeah, 1.3 seconds from Paltala through to Bonifacio. Over 5 seconds the gap between the two teammates now. Bonifacio to Fumanelli as part of the Oregon racing team. And Pieter Schothurst had the measure on Marcus Paltala for the first phase of the Enduro yesterday. It looked for a time that the Finn would be able to keep Schothurst behind, but we assume a very slight error from Marcus Paltala allowed Pieter Schothurst through, and the gaps continued to grow since then, although last time around both Pieter and Marcus matched each other on a 1:26.5. Groger has another look at the inside of Kevin Courjus and isn't close enough.
It's not going to matter though, because he's just received a 10-second time penalty for track limits, Jordan Groger. So it's all about pride if he wants to get by the car ahead now. He's not going to beat him on pace. 42 seconds left on the clock. Pieter Schothurst is about to complete his penultimate lap. No, he's anti-penultimate lap.
Anti-penultimate lap, yeah. 2 more to go at the end of this, with only half a minute on the clock. There's still some debris left in the middle of the track there, but thankfully not on the racing line in the run down into Rindt corner.
Schothurst pulls the fastest lap of the race out to the back. Again, that's beaten by 6,000 of a second though by Marcus Paltala, who's now pulled out a 1.8 second gap over Bruno Bonifacio.
So this is lap 15. It'll be 16 in total, as turning right now the Gregor-backed car is Pieter Schothurst. Marcus Paltala second. 3rd place just popping up over the brow there was Bruno Bonifacio, and the clock reads 0. So at the end of this lap we'll have 1 more with a new fastest lap from Marcus Paltala. So 1:26.4, but actually not very far off that was Schothurst. He gained very little ground. 0.006 of a second was the difference, and therefore the gap is 2.2 back from Pieter to Marcus. The scrap for 7th position continues on. Meanwhile, Schothurst now upping his pace, almost replying to that of Marcus Paltala. Very good time through the middle portion of the lap. Here comes Schothurst now over the hill and into the dab of the brakes at Rindt corner. Careful not to run too far off the track there and clatter the yellow sausage curbs, but that's exactly what Marcus Paltala does.
Absolutely on the limit, these cars. They have massive speed through that final turn. Another fastest lap of the race by Schothurst, and Paltala again is not far off that, both into the 1:26.1s. 2.2 seconds is the gap. for the lead, and Paltella now has pulled out a 2.4 second advantage on the last lap from Bruno Bonifacio. This is going to close up the Pro Cup Championship quite considerably.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a number of drivers that will gain on others that have performed consistently well, like Kevin Courjus, as you say, not been out of the top 5 all year, and Courjus looking like he will finish 7th now, possibly 8th if Jordan Groger can get this overtake right at well, that in fact won't matter because of the 10-second penalty. So Courjus may not know that. If the team have done well to radio him about that, then it might be wise to let Jordan Groger through.
Of the championship contenders, though, it's Marcus Paltella that's had the better weekend and will close the gap very considerably.
So there is Peter Schotthorst, very dominant in the opening portion of yesterday's Enduro race, and he's carried that form on into Sunday for the Pro Class sprint race at the end of 25 minutes plus a lap, despite the prolonged safety car period, that big incident on the opening lap. Peter Schotthorst will come out of the final corner and take victory.
2 maximum scores in the Pro Cup there for Peter Schotthorst. That will catapult him back into title contention in Pro Cup.
Paltella home in 2nd, Bonifacio coming home in 3rd position. 3 seconds the gap in the end from the Finn to the Italian. And Bruno's teammate, David Fuminelli, finishing in 4th position. Sadly, the 3rd of the Oregon cars very badly damaged after an issue with Capitanio and a whole load of other cars heading out of turn number 1. But Bonifacio and Fuminelli managed to get their cars into the top 4 ahead of Lonnie Martins in 5th. Tanart Satin-Tirikul in 6th position, and then Kevin Courjus and Jordan Groger complete the only 8 cars that finished a bruising encounter.
Bruising is the word. It was, well, heavy stuff in the first, through and beyond the first corner there, Johnny. And never good to see that number of damaged cars that early in a race. And there's a car that I'm afraid didn't make it either, the number 7. Pastorelli.
Yeah, the engine cover of that car ripped off the machine out of turn 2 early on in the race. That gave one of the Oregon cars an opportunity to overtake on the grass out of turn number 2. Confirmation, though, that it's Peter Schotthorst who wins for a keep for sure by 2 seconds from Marcus Paltella. 2 Oregon team cars, Bonifacio ahead of Fuminelli 3rd and 4th. Lonnie Martins finishing in 5th position, and 6th place going to Tanart Satin-Tirikul. So Pastorelli not coming to the end of the race, as we know. Roy Hertz just missing out too, with that issue with the tyre going down, heading into Rindt corner. But it was 8 finishers, Kevin Courjus and Jordan Groger 7th and 8th, and Jordan with that 10-second penalty now applied. So down pit road go the top 3. And in fact, 2 of those 3 are already in position and ready to receive a round of applause. The teams making their way up to Parc Ferme then, where these 3 cars will be positioned right next to their boards. And it is congratulations to Peter Schotthorst, who's lost none of his pace overnight, stepping out of the car now. And very, very happy with that indeed. Peter, straight to the team to receive congratulations. And over in the distance there, Marcus Paltella, almost looking a little bit dejected.
He does. I was just about to say, very different body language from the 1st and 2nd place drivers.
Yeah, wasn't
Marcus,
too satisfied with his points paying position yesterday. Nope. And it's a similar situation, but all the more galling, I suppose, today, in that he was leading the race and made an error. Big grin from Peter Schotthorst, has shown wonderful pace across the weekend.
I think I'm right. The points positions in Pro Cup mean that Marcus Paltella makes great progress up the order, but is overhauled by Peter Schotthorst because of those 2 wins.
Yes,
in Pro Cup terms.
Yes, as we said, the solo points counted at the end of 30 minutes in the endurance race. I'm just looking at the points actually and losing my train of thought. Close, isn't it? 66 points for the 1st and 2nd, Courjus and Peter Schotthorst, and then just 3 points further back for Marcus Paltella. It's between those 3 really, because it's a further 13 points back then to David Fuminelli in 4th position.
Now, to give you an idea as to how that's changed, we'll give you an idea about that. But before that, we're going to get down to pit road and talk to the race winner.
Peter Schotthost, a strong win from pole position, but that was a chaotic race in the Renault Sport Trophy. How was the feeling inside the car?
Well, the feeling now is very good and very happy for the team. We worked extremely hard together on Friday, and they put in a very good effort for a very good car, so I'm happy.
How did you overtake Marcus Paltela? Did he let you through after the restart, or did he make a mistake?
No, he let me through. He overtook me at the start outside of the track. So according to the regulations, he should have given the place back, which he did. And afterwards, he still put some pressure, but I finally managed to get away.
Peter, a very strong weekend, a perfect weekend for you at the Red Bull Ring. How do you carry that form forward and over the summer break?
Well, together with the team, we feel really motivated. We got a great boost and we're in the title race again. So the next weekends, we're going to do the same.
Thank you very much, Peter. Enjoy the podium.
So there is Peter Schotthost with a big grin on his face, as you would expect. The field splaying out across the grid hatching there at the start of the race. They all managed just about to get through turn one, but then it really kicked off as cars went high and wide, and in rejoining there just wasn't enough asphalt to accommodate them all. Across the nose there of 3 or 4 cars was the 16 machine, spun by Duncan Houseman, who was, in fairness, sort of trying to stay out of it a little bit and backing off, but it was the pincer movement which really did for him. And then across the track goes the number 1 Capitanio car, slams into the side of Duncan Houseman and eliminates those 2 cars on the spot. Then there was a restart after a prolonged safety car to pick up those cars that littered the part of the circuit between turns 1 and 2. Nicky Pastorelli's engine cover we lost earlier on. Then there was a spin for the Dutchman as well. After a result of that, the 4 Michelins on that number 7 car flat spotted. Here was Roy Hertz with a frightening moment up against one of the Oregon cars as well. Grass in the grille, did so well to hang on to that, but as a result his front left tyre went down very quickly, couldn't turn in at Rindt corner and went straight on in the Vodafone car. That immediately gave the place back to the Oregon machine into the final corner. And then we didn't see a mistake from Marcus Paltela, sadly, but it happened, and that provided Peter Schotthost with the opportunity to squeeze through into the race lead, which he never conceded. And over the line, a very happy Dutchman went, followed by the Finn Marcus Paltela, and to complete a third different nationality, Bruno Bonifacio finishing in 3rd position. And Peter Schotthost came to the Red Bull Ring in only 7th position in the championships, gained a lot of ground there.
Indeed, 34 points off the lead, and now shares the lead with Kevin Golhus, and it's the Team Mark VDS squad though that lead the team's classification, 255 points, and a very healthy lead now over the RHGP team, 166 points, 90 or so points back. It's been a good weekend for the Spanish flagged team, bears the famous Belgian racing name.
So 255 points for Team Mark VDS is a tidy margin to take into the summer break. Thumbs up then from from Bruno Bonifacio, who finishes in 3rd position and is in doubt briefly as to which step he needs to be on. The one nearest to him, Marcus Paltela, needs to take a slightly longer journey to 2nd position on the podium. But it is a win for Peter Schotthost, driving the number 21 car. And with all 3 drivers now into position, there's also a team representative from Equipe Vaucheur. He takes his position on the small step there to the side of the podium as well. And we will now hear the national anthem of the winning driver. National flags of the Netherlands, of Finland and of Brazil represented on the podium, and Peter Schotthost getting the result then for Equipe Vaucheur from pole position, but he did drop back to 2nd position briefly before then benefiting from a Paltela mistake. A grin there from Marcus Paltela, but he may well be kicking himself after that opportunity to build a further tally in the points championship. Still good points for second, 18, but he would have dearly liked those 25 that go the way of Peter Schotthorst.
It makes the Pro Cup standings very interesting indeed, though. Just 3 points between the top three now after a bad weekend for Kevin Gorhus. Pretty good weekend for Marcus Paltela, but an excellent weekend for Peter Schotthorst. And the faces on the podium tell the stories, don't they? Big, wide grin.
Tarek from Renault Sport is the trophy presenter, by the way, for this part of the weekend.
He should be very pleased indeed with the entertainment that's been doled out in both of the series this weekend. The Renault Sport Trophy having their 3 races, and the Formula Renault Euro Cup. A pair of excellent encounters for the young drivers in the 2-litre powered single-seaters. Saturday's race in particular, an absolute stunner.
Yeah, absolutely. That will live long in the memory. After it looked like Lando Norris was going to extend his lead at the top of the order to something like 3 or 4 seconds, and then Max Deforny reeled him in, and we were treated to a wonderful fight. But it's been close quarter racing, sometimes a little too close in the Renault Sport Trophy across the 2 races. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage. My thanks to Graham Goodwin from the Red Bull Ring in Austria. From Johnny Palmer, it's goodbye for now.